Hi, my name is Julia Zay, and today I'm going to be telling you about some of the research I've been doing with my co-authors on how preferred nursery sites can provide acoustic crypsis to southern right whale mother-calf pairs. For an animal to communicate effectively, they must transmit a signal through the environment to their intended receiver, and the environment can shape the transmission of an acoustic signal as it travels from the sender to the receiver. The location where the sender is signaling matters and can impact how well that signal is transmitted over different distances. However, there's also a trade-off between effectively signaling to the intended receiver and the conspicuousness of that signal to potential eavesdroppers, including predators. And the environment can also play a role in reducing conspicuousness or in maximizing crypsis, but this is much less well understood. You're probably familiar with the visual forms of crypsis, such as camouflage, like you can see in this picture of the owl here on the left and the stick bug on the right. An acoustic crypsis is a similar concept, where animals are able to make their acoustic signals more difficult to detect. For example, animals can reduce their signal amplitude so that the signal is quieter, making it harder to detect. And this has been documented in moths as well as in quiet calls in birds and in marine mammals. Another behavioral adaptation for acoustic crypsis is to modify the frequency of an animal's signals. So an animal can use higher frequency calls or lower frequency calls that are outside of the hearing range of their potential eavesdroppers. And this has been documented in, for example, some bird species and some odontocete species. Finally, a number of animals have also been documented reducing their call rate in order to avoid detection by potential eavesdroppers. So this means vocalizing less frequency when there's the potential that eavesdroppers are around. And so this has been observed in a wide variety of taxa. But we're proposing that signaling location, or the habitat, could also be a fourth behavioral adaptation that could confer acoustic crypsis for animals. So for example, if an animal is signaling from an area that has high transmission loss for their signal, this would allow for acoustic crypsis. And we decided to look at this in southern right whale mother-calf pairs, which are often found extremely close to shore in their nursery sites, as you can see in this picture of the whale in Brazil, very close to the shore in very shallow water. And right whale mother-calf pairs have actually been documented exhibiting other forms of acoustic crypsis, including reduced call amplitude as well as reduced call rates. And it's been hypothesized that this is so that the vulnerable calves, that the mothers can protect them from being overheard by potential predators like killer whales. Killer whales are the primary predator of baleen whale calves. And so these mother-calf pairs of southern right whales inhabit remarkably similar habitats across their entire global distribution. Like I said before, they're in these really shallow habitats that are sandy and gradually sloping, and this is where they go to nurse. And so this similarity in the nursery sites across their entire distribution led us to ask whether these specific oceanographic properties at the nursery sites provide acoustic crypsis for these mother-calf pairs. This is a map of the global distribution of southern right whales shown in orange, and the three sites that we chose to study this question in. We chose 3 sites on 3 different continents throughout their distribution, and we chose sites where southern right whales have been observed very close to shore, where there was sufficient oceanographic data for us to produce acoustic models, and where there have been mammal-eating killer whales observed in the vicinity. So these sites are Ribanceira, Brazil, De Hoop, South Africa, and the Head of the Bight, Australia. So we studied if a mother-calf pair was very close to shore and emitted an upcall, the contact call for this species. We looked at how far that sound would propagate and where it would be detectable out towards. And then we also looked at the reverse. If there were killer whales further offshore in deeper water and they were vocalizing, how far would those vocalizations be detected? And would they be detectable inshore where the mother-calf pairs are located? So to construct this, we use the Monterey Miami Parabolic Equation model, which incorporates bathymetry data, sound speed profile, the properties of the sediment, the signal frequency, and the source depth of the signal, in order to produce plots of the transmission loss over the area. And then using these transmission loss plots, as well as the ambient noise levels in the environment, which we measured in the site at Ribanceira, Brazil, as well as the source levels of the calls, we can then estimate the detection range of the calls. And here are some of the results that we got from our models. So this is starting with Ribanceira, Brazil, which is the site you can see in the map on the left. And these are the transmission loss plots. So on the left, we have the transmission loss for a right whale call emitted close to shore. And what you're seeing is depth on the y-axis and the distance from the sender on the x-axis. And so this is the area, and the shaded area is the seafloor. And then the color is showing you how much transmission loss. So higher transmission loss means the quieter the sound is and the less likely it is to be detected. And so you can see that that energy level drops off right away in the right whale plot. And then on the right, we have the offshore killer whale plot, where the killer whale is again at 2 meters depth and is vocalizing 5 kilometers from shore. And you can see that there is much less energy loss in this plot, and that killer whale signal would likely be detectable greater than 5 kilometers from the signal location. And here I'm showing you that same transmission loss plot, but for all 3 of our sites that we used in this study. So the first row shows Ribanceira, Brazil, and then we have South Africa and Australia. And what I want you to notice here is how similar these transmission loss plots for these 3 sites that were on 3 different continents. And so the detection range for the right whale call is only about 100 meters, whereas the killer whale detection range is greater than 5 kilometers. So these southern right whale mother-calf pairs are able to remain acoustically cryptic while also potentially being able to detect the sounds of vocalizing killer whales offshore. And also, just to show you how important this shallow near-shore environment is, if a right whale was vocalizing from 1 kilometer offshore, the transmission loss would be much less for their call, as you can see in this plot, and the detection range would be at least 1 kilometer. So the precise location producing those low frequency calls very close to shore in those very shallow waters is what allows for the very small detection range of their calls. And so this leads us to ask questions about whether the right whale mother-calf pairs are selecting these specific habitats because of these oceanographic properties and because of the transmission loss properties. And also to ask about whether this phenomenon might be common in other taxa as well. And so we're proposing that there is a 4th behavioral adaptation that can provide acoustic crypsis, in addition to reduced signal amplitude, frequencies outside the hearing range of potential eavesdroppers, and a reduced call rate. That habitat can also provide acoustic crypsis. So I would like to acknowledge our funding sources and all of the volunteers who are involved in the field season in Brazil, and again acknowledge my co-authors on this project, and I would be happy to take any questions. You can feel free to ask me questions during my live talk, or you can send me an email. My email is on the first slide of this PowerPoint. Thank you.